I have had to peel my child off of my body while they are kicking and screaming. I have had to peel children off of parents as a teacher while they are kicking and screaming. And chances are you are dealing with something similar. This is because, as primary caregivers, we have developed a secure attachment to our children. And then our child exhibits what's called proximity seeking behaviors. Hence, why when you go to the bathroom, you never get to go alone, and there are little fingers that creep in underneath the doorway. If our children cannot engage in these proximity seeking behaviors, you know what happens? So when does this start? When does it end? And what happens to 4% of children if we don't intervene at all? Okay, so I have to be honest with you guys. I did the research. I have 10 amazing tips for dealing with separation anxiety, but I'm going through it too. Not me going through separation anxiety. My son, my 5-year-old, is dealing with separation anxiety right now. He hasn't dealt with it since he was probably 2, but he's in a new summer program and he is struggling. I was in tears after I walked away watching him in tears this morning. So I just want to let you know that this channel is not, I'm not just a professional, I'm also a mom. I'm a parent just like you. And these tips are things that I used this morning for my son. So I just had to quickly let you know that. Those itty bitty babies with their chunky little legs, as soon as they're about 6 months old, they can start exhibiting separation anxiety symptoms. And it doesn't really become prominent until they're a year and a half. And this is going to continue intermittently until they're about 6. Once they are 7 to 11, if they're still experiencing severe separation anxiety, we're talking about it's stopping them from having normal activities, being able to go to school. They complain that they're sick all the time. They don't want to hang out with friends. They just have to be with you all the time. That's when it falls under a separation anxiety disorder. So what we're trying to do right now is not have our kids become the 4%. It does happen, and if it happens to your child and you're in that category, please seek help. There are ways to work through this. But during this video, we're going to talk about the other 96% of children who will grow out of it as long as you implement these 10 tips. Number 1, play games before. Before you start leaving your child for the first time, so if you're a new parent and you're ready and you're like, I need a date night, I need to see my friends, I need to pee in peace, play games first. Think about things like hide and go seek. They can't see you, but then you're there and you keep proving to them, mommy comes back. Scavenger hunts. Another one where you're going around the house. Let's find all the cars around the house, and you place all the little what are those things called? Matchbox cars all around the house for them to find. You can also use walkie-talkies where you're not in front of them, but they get to hear your voice. All of these games are building a tolerance to you, the primary caregiver, not being right beside them. Number 2, when you're ready, schedule wisely. You do not want the first time your child is away from you to be when they are tired or hungry. You want it to be during the happiest time of the day. For most children and most babies and toddlers, this is earlier in the day, the morning time. Usually by the evening time during witching hours, they're extra clingy to you, especially if you are a breastfeeding mother, because they might be cluster feeding and they want only you. Number 3, keep surroundings as familiar as possible. So if you can have the babysitter, whoever they're going to be with, grandma, grandpa, have them come to your place. And if you can't have them come to your place, bring as many items as you can to make the surroundings familiar. They can even bring a transitional object, maybe a blankie or a stuffed animal or some kind of book. We want them to be able to look around and not feel like they're in a completely new place. Even making the surroundings familiar could be having that person be around your house a few times before you leave them alone. They have what's called, it's probably not even politically correct to say this anymore, like mother's helpers, parent helpers, where they come to the house and they play with your baby or your toddler, so they're getting used to them, making it familiar, but you're still around. So maybe you're in the kitchen, or maybe you're folding laundry, or maybe you're working on your laptop, and the mother's helper is sitting with the child, but the child can still see you, and then that could help transition it as well. Number 4, don't do this. Do not sneak out. So you see your child's engaged with the babysitter, whoever they are, and then you're like, ooh, perfect. They're so happy. I'm just going to inch out of here and leave. Don't do that, because your child is going to notice you're gone. You have not warned them, and they are going to freak out and feel abandoned. Do not sneak out. Number 5, instead, be specific. And I'm talking about be child specific. So you're not going to say, I'll be back at 12, because your toddler has no idea what time 12 is. But you could say, I'm going to be back after you play on the playground. Number 6, use humor, and have your caregiver use humor. Your caregiver can say things like, oh, you wish mommy was here? I'm mommy, and we're gonna do this, and get your child to laugh. Encourage your caregiver to work with humor, because it will bring down those cortisol levels and help them to feel more calm. Number 7, don't give in. Even if your child is throwing their body on the floor, like I told you in the beginning of the video, I peeled my child off of myself and left them with my mother-in-law. I did not give in. I didn't come back once my child was distressed. If your child is extremely distressed, and it's making you distressed, because that's what happens, like their DNA is inside of our bodies, right? If you biologically gave birth to your child, their blood, their DNA is in you. So you feel that distressed. I know you know what I'm talking about, like the hairs on your body stand up. If you feel as though your child is not calming down, try to get the caregiver to calm down the child, even just for a few seconds, and then you go in. Number 8, if you made it through and you are now returning to that child-specific time that you told them, you are going to reframe the return. You are going to say, what is, if they're old enough, what is your peach of the day and what is your pit of the day? Because if they did have a tough day, they may only be focusing on that. So we are not going to dismiss them. We are still going to talk about what was difficult, what was hard, what you didn't like, which would be the pit. And we are also going to talk about the peach. What's something that you liked? Hopefully the caregiver did some kind of activity that's different than what the primary caregiver does. Even if you could have that caregiver do something that's special that you don't do ever, that could be the peach of the day, and make it so that they look forward to seeing that person. Number 9, role play. After you've returned and things have settled down, maybe you're doing lunch now, or you're doing dinner, or whatever time it is, you can sit with your child, even with some stuffed animals, and you can role play with the stuffed animals. And maybe the little baby Teddy is sad because mommy is leaving, and then mommy says, yeah, I'll be back. And then you role play it out so your child can see and practice that, yes, I'm not around, but I do come back. Number 10, last tip, read and reinforce. Books like The Kissing Hand could be really helpful. This one they use in a lot of preschool classrooms. It's about giving a kiss on the hand, and that mommy is always with you, even when you are not with me. You are loved. Reading books like this can help bring about positive feelings away from you. Now I can't wait to go pick up my son. Only 2 more hours, and I hope that today is a better day. Bye.